Howdy, this is Kevin Suko, the Director of Facilities and Grounds with the Sun Prairie Area School District. I am sharing a presentation with you. This is in support of the matter reserved for board agenda, matter reserved for board action on the May 22nd, 2023 school board agenda. This deals with the Patrick Marsh and Prairie View entrance renovations. So a little background on this project. Our middle schools were built in 1998, or Patrick Marsh and Prairie View, I should say, were built in 1998. They were added on to in 2000. And then most recently, the biggest work we've done is a renovation of the technology education area in 2020. But the main entrance and student services and main office area had not been renovated. Since that time, we've done small maintenance things to them and done some additions of technology and things like that. But the walls, the doors, the windows, all that are relatively unchanged. We're looking at this for a couple reasons. Number one was that as part of our 2015 facility assessment, the rusting doors, lack of electronic door access, and like rotting doors and windows, building envelope were identified as a need on that report. When we looked at it, meeting with the building administration and with district administration, we knew that we had to address the doors. But when we looked at some of the things I talked about with the building being 25 years old and how the delivery of education and our service to the community has changed, the idea was really brought up that if we're going to go through the work of replacing these glass components that make up a large part of the front entryway and the main office and student services, we needed to be more holistic and look at how those areas function and how we could improve on that with this project. And the other, from a financial aspect, part of OE6 says that anything that costs more than $250,000 is a matter that's reserved for the school board to approve or not approve. Some folks would say, well, we already we approved Findorf to be our contractor for the 2019 referendum, and we did. They are our construction manager, but we don't have a contract with them for this work. We don't have a GMP agreement like we did for West High School or Ashley Field or anything like that. So because this is a smaller value or smaller dollar item job, we don't need to go through the process of entering into a GMP amendment. We're doing this as a bid proposal. This matches the same procedure we used for the technology education areas in both these schools as well. So I kind of went through the history. The one thing that I will bring up is I appreciate the idea that when looking at this, as opposed to spending, $150,000 to replace doors now, and then a request comes through next year that we need to add an office, and that now that we're bringing people back in, it costs another $100,000 or anything like that. We're trying to take a lot of the work and forecasting what the needs of the building are going to be in the next 10, 15 years, and also roll that into this project as well. So not only are we replacing doors and windows as the facilities assessment said we needed to do, but we're also looking into the operation of the building. How can we improve security? How can we improve efficient flow of people in and out of the building? And how can we provide spaces that are needed to perform the functions of the school? So this is a quick shot of our current floor plan. And it shows the student services area to the left side and the main office area to the right side. Some items that came up and were identified during our meetings with the administration was that student services really needs more space. They need another office meeting or area for people to touch down and do some work. 122 would be a great spot, but there's a storage room in the middle and there's no door access into the student service suite. And if you notice, the door to student services is located right here. That's inside the main entrance, but on the public side of our secure vestibule right here. So once someone's buzzed into the building, we can't stop them from going into student services. Likewise, if students go to student services to meet with someone, and then they want to go back into the building, they have to go through the main office. They can't go through these doors because they're secured. So that creates a lot of extra foot traffic through the main office. Some other things, the welcome center desk where it is right now in the middle back of the main entry or main office, sorry, really has poor line of sight to the entrance to the secure vestibule. So oftentimes they'll get a picture of someone on the video camera, they'll be able to buzz them in. And then the first time that they get a look at them is when they're actually coming into the doors to the main entrance or main office that need to be unlocked because we don't have any door control there. So it creates, we have the locked outside doors and we're buzzing people in, but there are better practices we could put into place to help secure the main office and student services when people are coming into the building. The other thing was talking about door control and door access. The frames, the hollow metal frames that we have right now and the door hardware that are on those frames are not able to add our door access system to it or put electronic strikes on them. So we'd either need to bring in magnetic locks or something like that, or we'd have to tear out the doors and bring new doors in anyway in order to put door access systems in place. So rolling that into this project seems very natural. Finally, the last one is looking at the entrance to the building at both Patrick Marsh and Prairie View. It was identified that although the sidewalks are fairly wide, when there's high traffic in and out of the building, there's no place for people to stand on the side and wait or loiter without either getting run over by people walking down the sidewalk, or it forces people walking to go onto the grass or into the snow off the sidewalk. And then we have issues where grass won't grow and things like that. So that was identified as an issue as well. So we showed these, kind of showed them in a visual area or visual aspect on the first slide or previous slide, but just bringing down the things that were already identified. With student services and the amount of things that are being offered out of student services, they're a lot different than they were back in 1998. So there's more staff dedicated to that, more people that either have a permanent home or people that are coming in to provide services and then leaving the building. They're doing it more on a temporary basis. They need places to meet with students, and doing it in the hallway or in the lobby is not always the most confidential or private area. So creating some more spaces for staff to have conversations and meetings with students was a big concern that was brought up, as well as the access point to student services not being very efficient. And then on the main office side, we talked about just the security and how we control circulation in the main office could be greatly improved. So our staff started working with Bray in January 2023. We went through multiple proposals. We had meetings where the building administration and district administration sat down with the designers and we said, hey, these are the things we need to work on. Bray came up with some proposals. We looked at it with the building team and they said, this really wouldn't work, or hey, we really love that, let's include that. And we worked through multiple proposals, multiple different design iterations that included everything from walls and windows to desks, the color of the flooring and the color on the walls, things like that. So what we came up with is the plan that is kind of sitting before you here. Basically taking the area where room 122 was and finding a way to bring that into the student services suite without making folks have to go out into the hallway and walk around. Moving the main entrance to student services behind our secure entrance vestibule right here, so that students can go directly out into the building, and that if parents or visitors need to go to a meeting in student services, they need to go through the main office, check in with our Raptor system, and then we can allow them to go into the building and into student services. Widening the sidewalks as part of this project, we'll have them The sidewalks have seen their fair share of use. They're starting to crack. They're starting to move up and down in the ground. So we'll remove the main sidewalks and replace them as part of this project. Replacing the hollow metal or hollow steel doors with aluminum. This eliminates the need for painting painting the paint that fades due to sunlight and weather exposure, rusting that happens from the ice control salt that we use on the sidewalks. It also means we can go to a lighter door that's easier to operate for people, and it allows us to use hardware that's compatible with our door access system. Other things that came about was taking that student's welcome center desk in the main office and moving it up to the window wall so that the people that are working here can actually see people long before they get to the office. Before they even make the decision to buzz them into the office, they'll have the opportunity to see them in person, not just looking through a camera. The other concept is adding a transaction window to the welcome center desk, so that if someone's just coming to drop something off for their kid, they don't even need to be buzzed into the office. The best way that we can prevent issues or people from getting into our building that we don't want them is by not giving them access. So this is just one more way that we can prevent having to have someone come into our building past some of our security checkpoints. And the other part of that is adding electronic door access to the main office doors, both in and out, so we can allow people to come into the office, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they just have access to the building. We can lock this door down as well and not let them through, or we can choose to buzz them through if once they check in with Raptor and follow all of our security processes. So of course, with any amazing plan that we really like, there's going to be a financial side to it because construction doesn't happen for free. And just to kind of remind you that in the 2019 referendum, we identified capital maintenance items, and that was included in the referendum was money for doing these capital maintenance work at both Patrick Marsh and Prairie View. The referendum, we had about $1.66 million allocated for both middle schools. So 1.66 at Prairie View, 1.66 at Patrick Marsh. And with that money, we've done multiple projects already. That includes replacing 2 of the boilers in the building, doing the renovations to the tech ed area, replacing the public address system, and then you probably a couple, I think, months ago, Kurt came before you with a project to buy new monitors to replace the smartboard projectors. That all comes from this pot of money. Even after all those projects that we've done, we're still showing a combined 1.3 million, approximately 1.3 remaining in the accounts for projects at these schools. Now, I apologize, this gets a little confusing because I said 1.66 million at each school up above. Down here, when I say 1.3 million, that's both schools with their money pooled together. Okay, so we have about 1.3 remaining for both schools. Other projects that we have on lists that we haven't acted on are monument sign replacements to put electronic messaging signs at both schools, and then also cafetorium lighting and audiovisual upgrades, as well as other projects that are out there. Those are just some of the highlighted ones or the big ticket ones, as well as this main entry project. So Findorf took the plans from Bray. They went out and bid it competitively to subcontractors, and came back with a proposal for $533,967 per school. Now, a couple highlights I want to make is that when material procurement has been a big issue in construction the last few years. So that proposal doesn't necessarily represent the lowest cost bidder at each for each trade package, but what it is the contractor that our construction managers feel give us the best chance to complete the project within the budget, or sorry, the timeline that they're proposing, as well as the ability to get the materials in order to do that. That being said, you'll notice in the situation report, Some of this work is going to have to happen after summer's over. It's going to have to happen either around school breaks or somehow during the school day, because there are some long lead items. We're getting estimates of 20 weeks on some of the window sets, on some of the storefront window sets. So we're still seeing those issues as we try to get these projects done. But we feel that we're working with contractors that will give us the best chance to make sure that we'll be able to give good timelines and plan the work out with the school if it needs to happen after summer is over. The other part of that, this $533,000 includes an 8% contingency that Findorf would hold. This is because this is a renovation project of an existing built school. Now, it helps that Findorf built. They might be able to go back and talk to some of the folks that worked on the job to find out, like where things are. Maybe there's something on a plan that shows it there, but in reality, it's not there. It had to be moved during construction or something like that. But when we do a renovation job, we typically see more of that stuff than if they were building the building on a farm field, because people already put things there and they don't necessarily always do it 100% to the plan. Both Prairie and Findorf did a great job of coming in and looking above the ceilings and moving what they could to see what the existing conditions are. But sometimes, well, a lot of times when you do a renovation like this, things will pop up that were not known and will affect the project. The other part of that is because the projects are about $500,000, that's pretty expensive, but that's not hugely expensive when we talk about construction projects. So carrying a bigger contingency allows us to have a meaningful amount of money that they could put into rectifying any issues that pop up. On top of that, I'm also asking for a $53,000 district held contingency. This would be to take care of things that are outside the scope of the project, that are adds to the project, or would otherwise affect the ability of the project to be completed. One example of that are on the front sidewalk, walking up to the building at Patrick Marsh, there is a flagpole and there's a light pole that are pretty close to the sidewalk. They might need to be moved in order to accommodate the sidewalk being poured at 24 feet. So we either need to make a decision, do we make the sidewalk smaller, or we would take some money out of our contingency to move the flagpole or move the light pole or anything like that. Not part of the project, but it needs to happen in order to allow the project to be completed. So if those contingencies don't get spent, that money doesn't get charged to the district and it's not expended. It's just granting us the ability to spend up to this amount if needed. If something happens and we need to go over that amount, we would need to come back to the school board to request permission to spend that money. So this would be a total allocation request of $1,121,334 from the 2019 capital referendum funds. So the recommendation would be, on behalf of the superintendent, I am recommending accepting the proposal from J.H. Findorf and Sons for $533,967 per school, as well as a district held contingency for both schools of $53,400, for a total project allocation of $1,121,334 to come from the 2019 referendum funds. If you have any questions, please reach out. I would be happy to answer them. I will also be at the meeting on Monday to support this situation report. Thank you very much and have a great day.